My number 5 tight end in this draft is Kenny Yeboah. Now, this is the guy that had the biggest leap for me in this process. I was exposed to Kenny Yeboah on a Saturday night in, I want to say, either September or October. I was randomly flipping the TV around. Me and my girl were watching some Netflix, and we were taking a little break. And Alabama and Ole Miss are duking it out. And I'm talking about, this is before we knew Alabama was going to be that good last year from a record standpoint. Because when I'm watching them against Ole Miss, I'm saying, oh, they're going to lose a game or two this year because they can't stop anybody, because Ole Miss was going up and down the field, and one of the guys killing them that night was Kenny Yeboah. And so he was on my radar after that game. I didn't know what year he was in or any of that stuff, but I said, man, this guy looks impressive. And that's the game right there. That's the crown jewel of his collegiate career right there. That Alabama game, he shows off a lot of different things that I think gets you excited. At least I can't speak for anybody else. Gets me excited watching him and projecting him to the next level. Let's flip his card over and take a look at what Kenny Yeboah brings to the table. For me, the first thing is his size and catch radius. I don't know how fast he is. He did not run a 40, but I can tell you he can scoot. Watch him on film. He can scoot. I'd like to say he's a 4.68, guy. I'd put him anywhere in that 4.67 to 4.72 range. I'm right now. I feel bullish. He's a sub 4.7 guy, so I put him at 4.68. Either way, he can scoot. The Alabama game tells you all you need to know. Go watch that, and you can see him running away from guys. And he's got the size at 6'4", 250 pounds, right around. And he's got the catch radius. This guy's got an 81-inch wingspan. And just to give you a bit of a reference point, the number 1 tight end in this draft, Kyle Pitts, has an 83-inch wingspan, and his arms are vines. So 83, well, you're only talking, 2 inches less here on Kenny Yeboah. So he's got quite the reach and catch radius, which is a gold mine for a quarterback when you're trying to throw the football to a tight end, because a lot of times that tight end is going to be a lot taller than the defender trying to guard him. If you can throw it up a little bit higher because he's got a catch radius that extends way outside of his frame, that makes it even harder for the defender to try to get his hands on the football. So that's another thing Kenny Yeboah brings to the table. Athleticism and quickness. He's a guy that can win with route running based off of just sheer athleticism and quickness. I love that in guys, which is why I have Kenny Yeboah rated as my number 5 tight end in this draft, because of his quickness and athleticism. And again, not a guy that had a bunch of opportunities in college, but what he was able to do with his opportunities, I was happy to see him take advantage of that. And so this is a guy that I think projects well to the NFL from an athleticism, separating, route running, quickness standpoint. Soft hands, catches just about everything you throw in his direction, even the ones that are a little bit further than you would like it to be. He's still able to reach out there and collect it. So I really like his ability to catch the football. Competes as a blocker, another one of these move tight ends, another one of these guys lined up as a wing, as an H-back type, where he's just moving all around the formation. You can split this guy out, which they did quite a bit at Ole Miss. And you can ask him to block. If you're throwing a wide receiver screen, you want a guy in there that's going to compete as a blocker. Kenny Yeboah is your man. If you want to send him in motion, he'll come across. He'll block on the opposite side, on the backside of a play. You need him to be the lead blocker to come up in as a counter lead. He can do that as well. So he competes as a blocker. Can create separation. I talked about that already. Really good quickness. And with that quickness comes the ability to get vertical. I watched him get vertical quite a bit. And when you see guys get vertical, the biggest thing you notice is they get up on the defenders quickly. Like the amount of speed from which they're projecting you to have and what actually happens are two different things. And that's what you want. You want guys underestimating just how fast you are, because they don't get the engine revved up. They don't open up their hips to run. They're looking at you. All right, this guy's going to break his route off. He's going to stop any minute now. He's going to go back towards the football. He's going to break in or out. He's not going to run by me. And once they realize, oh shit, this guy isn't going to pull up and he's not going to hit the brakes. He's not coming back to the ball. He's not going in or out. He's going up. You got him if you've got enough speed. And he's one of those guys that is a vertical threat that can hurt you up the seam. And you saw that a ton in 2020. Run after the catch. Again, that's where he did most of his damage versus Alabama. And you watch him in the Kentucky game, same thing. You know, you watch him in the game versus Florida, same thing. You're seeing this guy catch it and make something happen after the catch. And again, that's what you're looking for at the next level. A guy that can take a 7-yard completion and turn it into a 27-yard gain. Those are the guys that are true difference makers at the tight end position at the next level. Hey, look, you want the chain mover. You want the guy that you can force it to on 3rd and 5, and it could be 2 guys right there, and you force it in there, and he's going to come down with it for you and move the sticks. But there's something to be said about the guy that can take the 7-yard completion and turn it into a 27-yard gain. Those are the guys that are special and the guys that every team in the NFL is looking for. Formational flex. Like I said, that's a given with most of these athletically gifted tight ends. They're going to move around. A lot of these guys aren't inline wide blockers. They're not asked to stay stationary and block the guy in front of you or, you know, come off of this double team and get to the second level. They're moving these guys around. They're out wide. They're in the slot. They're in motion. They're a wing. They're all over the place. So he brings that to the table as well, does Kenny Yeboah. And then his 2020 season. The 2020 season for me was the reason I ranked him as high as I did at number 5. I project his ability to come into the league and have a really strong effect on an offense if he is in the right locale with the right coordinator, right quarterback, right system for his skill set. I think he could come in and do some damage in this league. And the 2020 season is what did that for me. So here's a guy that comes over, transfers from Temple as a graduate transfer. So played his first 3 years in college football at the University of Temple, transfers over, and you're seeing this a lot, especially to the SEC, because, look, that's the most high-profile conference in the nation. If you can go and ball in the SEC, you can ball anywhere. So he goes to the SEC, to Ole Miss. First year, new head coach Lane Kiffin comes on board, changes the whole dynamics of that offense. They're now a pass-happy offense. They can still run it, but they're looking to throw the football all around the yard. They can score points. They're dynamic and explosive now. And Yeboah really benefited from that. He saw career highs in every statistical category, and he only played in 8 games. He did it in less games. His 27 receptions in 2020, the most of his career. His 524 yards might have been more yardage in that one season than the first 3 years at Temple combined. And then he averaged damn near 20 yards a pop to go along with 6 touchdowns, which his 6 touchdowns in 2020 were the amount he had the 3 years previous combined. So he went to Ole Miss and lit it up. And I'm happy for him, but I'm also looking at that 2020 season and saying, all right, you got something. There's something there to Kenny Yeboah that you can take and extrapolate to the next level and say this guy can do it at the NFL level and be a difference maker. Weaknesses. More of a move tight end than an inline wide. I've told you that's really more of what you're going to get with a lot of these tight ends, so I'm not going to harp on that too much, but it is worth mentioning. Inconsistent sustain in the run game. That's something that he would need to clean up moving forward and does need to work on. Is he makes physical contact, not afraid of contact whatsoever, doesn't mind mixing it up, doesn't matter who it is, D lineman, linebacker, safety, corner, he'll mix it up with anybody. He just doesn't sustain the block a lot of times. So initial contact is awesome, doesn't sustain. And then the last weakness is just more of a question than it is a weakness. How fast and consistent are you? So I talked about the 1 year in 2020 in the SEC, him having a stellar year and really, I think, catapulting his draft stock. But at Temple, he was all right, but he wasn't anything to write home about. He wasn't a guy that was really on the radar. So how consistent are you? Was last year just a one-off, or is this something we can expect from you moving forward? And then just how fast are you anyway? You didn't run a 40. I think I know, but I'd love to put a time to that. We probably will never be able to put a time to it because when else does a guy run a 40 other than right before the draft? If you haven't run a 40 now and you're not planning on running one before the draft, you're not going to run one. But I think he's plenty fast for the NFL game. I told you I think he's a 4.68 guy. If I had to guess, anywhere from 4.67 to 4.72, which is plenty fast in the NFL at the tight end position. I project this guy to be a late day 2 to early day 3 pick. So I wouldn't have a problem with someone spending a 3rd round pick on him, which I think someone will snatch him up in the 3rd round. But I wouldn't be shocked if he went in the 4th round. I don't see him going any later than the 4th round, though. And in a weak tight end draft class, I think he's going to ultimately go late day 2. So we'll see what happens. My comp for him is Gerald Everett. I think Gerald Everett is a slightly better athlete than Kenny Yeboah, which is fine, but they're very comparable in their size and, more importantly, their movement skills. When I watched them, both of them, and I remember Gerald Everett coming out of South Alabama, I said, he looks a lot like Gerald Everett does Kenny Yeboah. I just see a lot of the same movement skills. And honestly, the way he was utilized in L.A. with the Rams is the way I see Kenny Yeboah being best utilized at the NFL level. So we'll see. It wouldn't even shock me. Gerald Everett moved on from L.A. in this offseason, went to Seattle, signed a 1-year deal there. I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams ended up drafting Kenny Yeboah. It'd make a ton of sense because, like I said, it'd be replacing the guy you just lost, and they're almost like clones of one another. So it would not shock me if Kenny Yeboah ends up being drafted in L.A. We'll see what happens. But Kenny Yeboah, right now, my 5th rated tight end in the 2021 NFL draft.
LouieTeeNetwork.